I really didn't want to believe I was injured. I had to accept my limits.
There were a lot of negatives in the treatment of my injury. I was really unhappy, even depressed.
I felt like I let down my team, my coaches and myself. Why me?
Just like anyone who's injured going before a big tournament, you always have to battle that fear of, I can't trust my body, I can't trust myself.
Zimmerman won the Cadet World Championships in Paris in 1995 at the age of 14, becoming the first American fencer ever to win a world championship. This moment is a milestone in the emergence of USA fencing as an international power.
Here I am, this 14-year-old, and I made grown men cry. They heard the national anthem for the first time. Like George Kolumbatovich came up to me afterwards, and Michael Marks. And these are guys who have been in fencing for so many years. And Michael Marks was an excellent fencer. And I'm up on that podium and I'm listening to the national anthem. And Michael Marks is like tears running down his face. And I'm thinking, this is amazing. I've done something. I've done something. I don't know what, but I'm 14. I've done something. And the surreal thing is, here I'm in Paris, lights flashing. People come up to me and like, finally, someone other than European can win a competition. And, the national anthem is playing, and then I go back to 8th grade. I mean, it's so surreal. I get on a plane and I go back to 8th grade.
Iris would be a pivotal figure in American fencing coming of age. She would go on to win a second Cadet World Championship, as well as a Junior World Championship. In the approach to the Sydney Olympics, Iris would suffer a serious knee injury. It would break her competitive momentum and sow the seeds of doubt. But she rebounded in 1999 at the World Championships in Seoul, Korea, with an historic medal win, driven by her love of the sport and by the opportunity to realize a long-held dream.
Because I think after my injury, like, I came back to fencing and I didn't know what my game was anymore. And now, like, I'm figuring out again, like, what my game is and what I'm capable of doing.
Just like anyone who's injured going before a big tournament, you always have to battle that fear of, I can't trust my body, I can't trust myself. But I went into that competition and I thought, if I just don't, I just got to do it. I just got to go in, I just got to do it. So when I was fencing Trellini, it was an honor. It was unbelievable. I couldn't believe it. I wanted anything, everything. I would have given anything to have fenced her. I loved that. I loved winning one touch over the other person. And I was actually behind. I ended up being 12-8. I kept getting touch after touch. I was just focused on getting touches. That was it. How am I gonna get the next touch? How am I gonna get the next touch? So I was very present in the moment. And then somehow I get the 15th touch. I mean, I could have kept going after that. That's the weird part, because I was just so intense about playing the game with her and going touch after touch that I wasn't even thinking about, okay, we're going 15. So it was an honor. It was an honor to fence with her, and it was an even greater honor that I got to beat her. I mean, it was unbelievable.
Iris would never really fully recover from her injury, the arc of her career cut short. But she would take the lessons she had learned into her new career as a fencing coach at the Rochester Fencing Center, the club where she came of age.
I think if you're able to kind of keep some sort of perspective in winning and losing, it helps you, because I think that when I started to struggle a little bit, later in my career, I had no perspective. I didn't know how to deal with losing, and these kids now, I kind of teach them how to deal with losing and how to pull away and to have some perspective and to look at the loss and to learn from it. Your team's depending on you. You also want to be out there playing, and you can't play. I would assume that's a really difficult time for some people.
Well, it is a difficult time, and there are a lot of pressures, especially when we consider that it's not an exact science when the person is ready to play, and sometimes they may play at a limited basis, which means they may have to reset their expectations for performance. Sometimes they're going to want to take a risk, even though it may not be advised, just because it is such a critical moment, and it's in an now or never situation, a person's going to be more inclined to take a risk, and you would have to agree with them that that's a rational process.
Sure.
Some people simply have that capacity to put distractions, even in injury. They said, this is my focus, I have this bout and this thing, I'm simply going to ignore it, I'm going to deal with it as best as I can. And other people, they're, it's one of those issues, maybe as people talk about like thoroughbred racehorses, so finely tuned, F1, Formula One race cars, so finely tuned that any sort of small deviation, the capacity for performance is undermined. Get them to realize that they can take control of the situation again. They can't let the situation run away from them because they feel that, oh, this has happened to me, I have no control over this, and that's where they really lose it.
I think it applies to athletes as well, because they may find themselves in situations where essentially their life as an athlete is threatened by injury, and so that sense of vulnerability can be really critical, and it can be a spoiler when people can go back, because it keeps them second guessing themselves and may prevent them from going full out. And when you don't play the way you should play, you actually become more vulnerable to injury, and so the risk is then increased.
I finally realized that I'm really fortunate to be where I am. I'm really fortunate to have all my limbs intact. I'm really fortunate to have a skill that I can win a medal with, and that I can travel places and do this skill that I have.